first week in portfolio as well, so it's good to see how far we've come really in such a short time since that roundtable. And it's really fair to say, I think, that the private rented sector is becoming an increasingly important part of our housing sector here in Wales. And so I really do value the opportunity to work alongside groups such as Citizens Advice Cymru and the NLA to improve both the standards for tenants and also the deal for landlords. We've taken some really important legislative steps over recent years, but I certainly don't underestimate the challenges that we still face. And I'm really pleased that today provides an opportunity to reflect on what are some really practical proposals in order to build on the roundtable's discussions which took place back in November. I think it might be helpful to let you have some of my initial reflections on some of the recommendations in the report today. We already have extensive control over housing policy in Wales, and you only have to look at the changes that we've made to the private rented sector and tenure law to see that we're not afraid to use those powers. In addition, I've recently announced I'll be introducing a ban on fees being charged to tenants. And as a government, we're looking to see what more we can do to ease the burdens on leaseholders. There are real concerns at the moment about the position facing people on unadopted estates, and we certainly have a debate on that this afternoon in the Chamber. And we've got a long-standing commitment to improve arrangements for people who are living in park homes. So the important thing now is that we take stock of these new and emerging regulatory requirements before we decide what future steps we should be taking, regulatory or otherwise. I'm sure the report is certainly right to highlight the need for us to consider the implications of Brexit. And you'll know that as a government we have some really serious concerns about certain aspects of the way that the Brexit negotiations are being handled. Housing hasn't been our main concern so far, but we are certainly monitoring carefully the impact of the settlement beginning to emerge from the negotiations that are taking place with the EU. In the short term, we're much more concerned about the impact of welfare reform, and the rollout of universal credit is having a real impact on both tenants and on landlords. We're not in favour of establishing separate welfare arrangements here in Wales because, as a government, we believe that a fair and effective welfare system should extend right across the UK. But I will be anxious to continue to receive evidence from tenants and from landlords and organisations such as Shelter, highlighting the impact of the current proposals. As you might expect, the report makes reference to Rent Smart Wales, and I'm really pleased to report that almost 89,000 landlords are now registered. And that is a fantastic achievement because it equates to a 98% compliance rate, and that's equal to vehicle excise. Almost 21,000 landlords and more than 3,000 agents have been licensed to date. I'm equally pleased to hear that 18 successful prosecutions have taken place with significant fines being imposed. Unregistered landlords who are flouting the law will be sought out and appropriate action taken. And there is no excuse for non-compliance. The process is simple and the majority of landlords realise they have nothing to fear from complying. Indeed, over 94% of landlords who attended a training course have told us that they learned something that would help them be a better landlord. I've mentioned previously that I'm keen to establish a working group to engage with and develop policies for the private rented sector. It's right that we should acknowledge the growing role that it plays, and I want to work with all key stakeholders to ensure that the sector is strong, transparent and accessible. Accessibility is a key issue for me, and I realise that the sector may require help in order to provide easier access. And this is one area where I would like any future group to focus on and develop some really workable solutions. And I'd welcome further observations from the organisations here today about other matters that the group that I intend to set up might intend to consider in future. Finally, I was really pleased to see the report's suggestions regarding energy efficiency. Next month, all new properties coming onto the rental market, or those renewing tenancies, will require a rating of E or above on an energy performance certificate, whilst existing tenancies will have until 2020 to comply. We will do what we can to help and to publicise support mechanisms that are currently available, including home improvement loans. But this is a challenging area where we'll need to work harder if we are to meet our low carbon targets. And I would suggest that this is another area that could be considered by the working group in due course. This is an area where we recognise the need to generate a deeper understanding of the energy challenges surrounding our existing housing stock. And so in the autumn, we will be publishing the results of our Welsh Housing Conditions Survey. Key information gathered in the survey will allow measurement of energy efficiency, repair costs, the Welsh Housing Quality Standard, fuel poverty, and the Housing Health and Safety Rating System. We will clearly need to build on the results of the survey, but I am anxious that we should assess the outcome of this year's work before deciding what happens next. So thank you once again for allowing me the opportunity to underline the importance which the Welsh Government attaches to an effective private rented sector. I look forward to working with all the organisations here today and taking forward further improvements in support of both tenants and landlords, because we all have a role to play. We all have a shared interest in increasing tenants' confidence in the private rented sector and making sure that it really is a tenure of choice. And I can give you my assurance that I'm committed to playing my part, and I know that you will too. So thank you very much for listening. Diolch yn fawr iawn.